What up, everybody? Scuff D here, and today we're talking Cor'bax Utterblight. So, Cor'bax Utterblight is one of the demon warlords of the Ruinstorm, and I actually had played him just a smidge when he came out, when he was available in the shop. I didn't have a whole lot of Ruinstorm cards available. I did okay with him. I played him a lot more in the events. I had much more fun with him in the events. They had a variety of decks and some options. I'm not going to lie. He had Gaping Maw. Gaping Maw is a pretty good Cor'bax deck. But then that was it. And they changed him up a couple months ago, and I hadn't played him really after that. And I decided to get back into it and give it a whirl and see how he goes. So his ability used to be a Relentless. He would poison random enemy troop, and then he could, for 2 energy, heal 1 to everybody, and then do that again, and do that again, and do that again. They changed him up. They kind of switched it around, and it still works out okay. Plays a little bit differently. He doesn't control the board as option, and quite frankly, I think his initial ability was limiting. Was powerful. Was limiting to opponents. It was a little bit more of a negative play experience. If you have a deck that you want to put bodies on the board, and you face Cor'bax, you will not be able to do that. It's not like that's possible. Where at least with this deck now, there's some possibility that you can do it. It won't be as effective. He has to pay energy to do it. But being able to do it for free was really mean. So what I tried to do with this deck, and we'll play some videos here, and I really want to show. I want to show that even though this deck has got Plague Toads and Rot Flies in it, it doesn't need to use them to win. They are handy to have. But before I go into this card pool here, really quick in this deck and tell you why I have the deck selection, just a Ruinstorm disclaimer, if you will. Ruinstorm only has so many cards available to it, guys. So you are going to see decks that look very similar. There is going to be similarity between a Cor'bax deck and a Kyrus deck and a Kabanda deck. There are going to be cards that they don't use the same of. I could use Eternal Rivalry. I don't. I don't use Demonettes because for Cor'bax, I can't heal them. They're not going to gain health. They're really good for 4 attack, and then that's it. Plus, he's got low initiative. So if I play Demonettes on 3 energy, odds are high that my opponent has got 4 energy, which means that they could play an artillery strike, and then nothing happens for me. So I'd rather not play them. I only have so many cards available to me. And I have the same Chaos cards that are available to me. And a lot of these Chaos cards are not really great. You can do some things with some of them. You've got some random damage. You've got defensive satellites. You've got cultists. You've got greater demons. The greater demons are definitely good and viable, right? But a lot of these other cards, they deal damage to troops. They give marks of chaos, which are not going to do anything for your demons. So they're not all great. That's the pool that they've been given. So when you play a Ruinstorm deck, you are going to see a lot of similarities in cards, but there are going to be some marketable differences. Now, one thing with this deck list that I want to point out is I don't have the Bile Blade in here. I do have the Cathedral of the Mark, which I actually like this card a lot for Cor'bax. I found that it really can generate some value and some options late game, and we'll see that in a game or two of the replays. But this is actually a really good card for Cor'bax, a really good card for the faction, not for every warlord. I think it might work in a Samus deck as well, because you don't know what you're going to get. You could get a greater demon, you could get one of the free demons that only come, like the Slaneshi demons, which I think at this point are the only ones. No, there's still the Cornite Hounds, not the Hounds, but the 6/6 guys. And with that, with the Cathedral of the Mark potentially making you demons, you want to double down, you get some mutations going. You've got Path of Blood in here, but you also have Plague Bearer, who's going to generate mutations in your hand. And if you're able to throw down a greater demon and then give them some mutations and reduce their maintenance costs and make them even more powerful, it can be very, very swingy. So you're going to see cards that look the same in a lot of decks, but you're going to, some of the cards that stand out here with this deck in particular, I think a Silent Death works very well with Cor'bax's ability. Being able to poison a troop, stun it, or stun all undamaged troops, I should say. Buys the time that you need, potentially kills off a threat. Being able to poison a Jubok or a Mount Pharos or a Pyramid of Tizca or a mortar carrier does a lot of work too. You're still going to take a little bit if they attack with you, but those are troops that your opponent doesn't want to do anything with, and they have to suffer the loss. And then you've got the cards that are kind of the bread and butter of Ruinstorm early game: Chaos Fury, Elatel, and Unrestricted Frenzy. You're going to see those a lot. You're going to see Plague Toads and Rotflies. I don't know if you see them in every deck. They're not needed in every deck, but they do draw some heat away, depending on how you play them. They're also a free, like for 1 energy, and Seekers of Slaanesh. I can still get Seekers of Slaanesh fast. So for 7 energy instead of 6, I can throw out a Toad, do the Seekers, get a fast. So they've got purposes. So that is the overall deck in here. I don't think there's, I mean, as I've said, there's not a lot of cards that you're going to see that are surprising. I think Fell Reavers is a basic frontline play grid, and I've got in here, though, I found in the events, but just as Hanley, being able to constantly replicate your demon troops. These guys do a lot of work. They're Melgator, they're subjected to Ambassador Melgator. My tongue was tying up for some reason. But they do a lot of work in possibly giving you 1 to 2 units, maybe even the same key unit over and over again. And you can throw those bodies at your troop and not have to, or at your opponent, and not have to worry about losing out on anything. I'm going to scroll through some challenge decks, some dailies. There we go. There's Cor'bax up. So just a spoiler alert, these were all pinned, and I tried to record a video, and the app that I was using has updated, and there's a lot of problems with it. So I got a new app. I said, screw you, old app. I got a new app. So I'm going to go back and redo these. I'm going to do what I did before. Thankfully, I've already seen these games a third time. But these are all games that do not focus, and I wanted to make sure specifically that I had them in here. These are games that do not make much use or any use of the Toads and the Rotflies. You can have a very good game and use some other cards within the faction. I don't know if everybody feels that way. I don't know if people just see Toads and Rotflies on turn 1, turn 2, and they just give up. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So with Sanguinius, he's got some potential if he gets some bodies out. And really, I'm kind of curious to see what I get. I got the Chaos Fury. I've got that, I'm going to keep Molten Blood just for some splash damage. I've got Unrestricted Frenzy with the Chaos Fury, so I'm feeling good about that. Because right off the bat, I can make that guy pretty strong. And as long as my Chaos Fury is not taking damage, Cor'bax can kind of withstand some additional damage, because he's going to be taking up 1 every round, right? But I draw a second Chaos Fury with the Unspoiled Land, and I'm going to give him Brass Collars. So now, I won't lie, I'm getting greedy. I'm getting greedy like a demon of Nurgle, and I'm going to throw down that other Chaos Fury. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 3 Chaos Furies, and this one I'm going to give Survivor. So these are pretty hardy Chaos Furies, but I'm feeling okay with it. And he does the play that he has to play. I mean, that's just the way to play that. It's a smart move. It's a smart move. I don't know if he went for the right troops there. I think he probably should have taken out both the Furies, but he didn't. He went for the kill, for the 7 damage on my face. And as a result, he's going to kind of suffer a little bit there. I'm willing to take another 6 to my face because I'm feeling pretty comfortable with what I've got. I know I've got the Seekers in my hand, so I can do some damage there with what I've already got on the board. And that's pretty much going to wrap up the game here for us. And that's just really 3 cards really winning this game here. That's the Chaos Fury. That's the Unspoiled Land giving me a 2nd and 3rd Chaos Fury. And then that is the Unrestricted Frenzy, or Unbridled Frenzy, giving all my Furies some beef. You could argue that probably, okay, if the Seekers too of Slaanesh is so 4 cards. 4 cards. None of which are toads or flies. So here we're going to have a frontline game going. I'm not going to say no to Chaos Furies in hand. I think that's just a great starting hand. It could probably get a little bit better, like if you had, like, I don't know. If you had two toads, that could be a hand. I don't know if you'd want that. I like Chaos Fury. I can't deny it. And I'm going to give them the Miasma of Rot because if he flanks with that, I've got a poisonous troop that his flanker is going to die to. Now, it sucks that I took the 3 from the mortar carrier on that, but I do have wings, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to poison that mortar carrier just the same, and I'm going to tank up from there. And chewing up his cards, taking damage, but I've got another Fury to throw out, and we'll play that game. I put the 4/6 down though because I want to be able to withstand his flanker and draw some heat. And I stun. And I'm thinking I'm feeling pretty good, right? And then that happens. Ugh. And then he stuns me because that was going to come. I knew that was coming. And you could argue for probably like a Wonders of Terra in here so that there's some stun removal. But I was actually really glad. I was not too thrilled in my selections with Parting the Veil. But as it turned out, this troop here was very useful. And in conjunction with the Plague Ridden, I get him back. So he still has got use. He doesn't have, he's a high cost, but that's not bad. I feel okay about that. I feel very okay about that. And I'm going to copy my Chaos Fury because why not? And he's going to get rid of him a third time or second time, and I'm going to get him a third time back. So just that one troop there, this is an example of how this deck kind of self-replicates, self-populates, and you use that to your advantage. It is a long game deck. In a long game deck, you don't want to run out of troops. You don't want to run out of options. Having cards like Cathedral of the Mark or those Plague Riddens to feed into your hand, mutations, feeding into your hand, giving you options, that really flexes out your possibilities to play endgame scenarios. I'm going to throw out the big old Slaaneshis to draw fire because, you kind of need to. And it's going to cost him his board. He's going to play the Purge. He stole that from my deck, but it costs him his board as well. He doesn't gain anything from it, and then he's just going to put out a little 2/3 flanker. But I like what I've got in my hand. I've got 2 Illitils. I'm feeling good about that. I've got an Unrestricted Frenzy. If I'm able to... Oh, no, I'm not able to. I should have known. 2 defensive satellites. That's okay. We've got our Mark, and we're going the distance. Because even though she's at 26 health, only taking 4 damage, and I've taken 21 health, I still feel good. About this game. Yes, indeedy. Now, I could have put the Path of Blood down there. I was torn with that, but I really wanted to put a troop down to support the Plague Rid. I knew I kind of had to. Even though he's got the Smirnovs, and he's going to have an endless swarm of 4/4s, I have got to have my share of bodies down too. You could say, oh, you've got botflies out now. I do have botflies out, but they really don't come in very much in this game. This is a tail end of the game, but they don't do much for me other than provide me with a body. This is not a turn 2 botfly swarm. This is more or less like a botfly distraction. As the corpses of this game have piled up, the flies are beginning to replicate and populate. And what I could do here, I'm just going to go ahead and Slaanesher. I could have attacked with the 5/4 first and then used the Seekers to get rid of him. I just got rid of a fly because it was in the way. But thanks to the Cathedral of the Mark, I generated that 5/4 fast. And again, you're generating cards, you're generating options. There was some demons in there that I didn't need. There were some demons in there that I didn't need to use. But that card really works out well. And even if I had not used them, I could have like thrown out with that Plague Ridden. I could have thrown out the Seekers or the Demonettes of Slaanesh. 5/4 killed a guy, gotten another 5/4 back, killed another guy. I mean, the possibilities there are really interesting. They're really interesting, and they work well with Cor'bax in that he self replicates rather. The Shuriken and the Curze deck are kind of the same, but we'll watch the Curze game because it was a good game. Now I know you're thinking icky sticky Ruinstorm. If you feel that way, you don't have to play Ruinstorm. They're a newer faction. I do think that they are going to have some changes to some cards. They've had a couple changes, like Cor'bax received a change. I still think that they will receive a few changes, but because of their lack of Imperial Army cards and their lack of Mechanicum cards, it's hard to change a faction cards because the Chaos cards that they have available to them are okay, but they're not fantastic. They're not going to do a ton of work, so they really have to have mutations that are strong. They really have to have, synergy with those mutations and creating mutations and spawning demons. They have to. They have to have aggression because they don't have anything else. As time goes on, they will have some more options as we see more neutral chaos cards introduced, but that's a slow build. That's a slow build for this faction, whereas every other faction will gain 3 times the amount of cards from new neutrals, right? A Space Marine faction is going to gain Chaos card abilities, Mechanicum card abilities, and Imperial Armor card abilities. Demons are always only going to gain those Chaos, new Chaos cards available to them. So that's really going to limit their growth as well. You're going to see the same decks for Chaos that you see now in one or two more expansions because their pool is not going to get radically larger. It's just not. That's a little nifty combo here. It's not intentional, but Curze giving 1 health to Cor'bax, then Cor'bax giving 1 health to Curze, and Curze giving 3 health to... I mean, that's just a nice little combo there. And I throw down the Plague Bearer to draw heat from the opponent, and that's really kind of my intention with that, more than anything else. Now we're at that 8 energy mark, and I know I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get rid of Curze by 10 energy. I can't, and he's going to go into Haunter mode. So playing a card like Plague Toad is not an option. Once he goes into Night Haunter mode, it's just not going to be an option. So I've got to play carefully. I've got this 5/4 Seekers. I got that from Pardon the Veil. I'm going to hang on to that because that's going to be super necessary for whatever it is that I'm doing. For that end strike, that 5 damage that he doesn't suspect. But it's not looking good, right? He's going to go into Haunter mode, and we're going to be stuck. And then what he does here, I think, is really kind of the mistake that he makes, right? It's not game-ending mistake, but it is a mistake. He's at 10 energy, and he could have gone into Haunter mode and picked off those Seekers a little bit. He chose to go for the destruction instead and do some face striking. It's not endgame yet, but I've got cards in hand to do 10 damage. Is he going to make a mistake and go to 10 damage? This is just not the smartest play. And maybe he's thinking he's got to get rid of my front line before he goes for the strike. I don't know what he's going for. But he makes a mistake right there. Even if he had not attacked, I could have attacked with Cor'bax here. But I'm going to be able to Seducers and then Seekers, and that's game. And surprisingly, I took out the Haunter before he became the Haunter. I was not anticipating doing that, but I think he made a couple turns where he chose not to go into it. I don't know if he was fishing for a certain card or he felt that he had to remove the threats on the board. If he had gone into Night Haunter, it would have been harder. I don't know if it would have been impossible, but it would have changed up a couple of the cards that I don't know. He would have had 8 extra health too, so it's hard to say. But you play the game that you're dealt. So that's Cor'bax. We've got 3 games there. The Shuriken game is much similar, the same. I think I ended up winning with that one with like 2 chosen on the field with like mutations and brass collars. None of those games were toady or flyy. They weren't full of toads and flies. And they kind of showed the idea of synergizing within the faction, creating cards via Cathedral or even Tides of Madness, and giving yourself options for the late game. Building up to the late game, protecting yourself for the late game. What are the options you got? Are you going to get a Greater Demon? Or are you going to get Fast Seekers? You could argue for maybe some more frontline if that's possible. That's not a terrible argument. I found that Bile Blade for Cor'bax, while I like the idea of it, at 6 energy, I would much rather be playing a troop or 2. And I found that Cathedral just has better value. Bile Blade is costly. It's nice as far as giving your warlord poisonous, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. So it might be more helpful with like Samus, maybe. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing Samus pop up here, though, the next week. He is on his way. Samus is coming. And so, yeah. Yeah, so that's Cor'bax. Again, it's Icky Sticky Ruinstorm, guys. If you don't like it, you don't have to play it. Nobody's forcing you. But we're going to be going on 87 warlords in this game here. 88 probably after Friday. After next Friday. A week and a half from now, there'll be 88 warlords in the game. There's so many options out there to play. There's no reason not to try something different. If you want to try Ruinstorm and you don't have Kabanda and you're kind of like, Cor'bax has got low initiative. Well, yeah, he does. But the faction still supports him very well. So that's it for me, guys. My clock is ringing, telling me it is time to go. So until next time, keep playing Legions, have fun, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.